Good morning, all you freedom-loving patriots out there. Craig Gibson here with Sons of Liberty, and this is Constitution Coffee and Service. All right, so this week we've got a lot of open bags of coffee from just the previous weeks of doing the coffee of the week. So this week we're gonna do surprise. Basically, we're just gonna brew up whatever we feel like in the mornings. And apparently, I need to go get the hole in my lip fixed. So, like for instance, this morning we've got Black Rifle Coffee's Murdered Out Roast. It's an extra dark roast with some extra excellent flavor. Just a great all-around coffee if you like it dark. Like I said, we'll be brewing up all different ones this week and give you a good chance to come in and try some of the different ones. If you like them, great. If not, I'm sure we've got something that you will like if you are a coffee lover. We carry both Black Rifle and our Overwatch Coffee Shop brand coffees. All right, this week, 18th Amendment. So the 18th Amendment, of course, was repealed, but it's a great example of government overreach and government intruding into the people's lives and telling them what they could and couldn't do. But beyond that, it's another great example of the government, one of their rules, one of their regulations, creating crime. What do I mean by that? Well, so when the 18th Amendment was passed in 1917 and later ratified in 1919, this brought out the American spirit, the American ingenuity, the American entrepreneurs, because you had everything from the speakeasies to the bootlegging. Later on during the Depression, you had people that saved their farms by bootlegging, moonshine, whatever it took to take care and provide for their families. Now, of course, with the speakeasies and that, of course, this brought about a new crime wave. Not only were, the gangsters, the people that ran these speakeasies, not only were they committing crime on that, by that aspect, but also you started to have your turf wars. We started to see more people shot. And unfortunately, this led to later laws that we're not going to get into today because we are sticking to the 18th Amendment. I will just say this. You can thank the 18th Amendment and trying to think of a way to really put this. A bunch of political speak that convinced the people that it was a good thing to pass things like the National Firearms Act later on under Roosevelt. But anyway, so this, like I said, this led to more crime, and it was all created by the government getting involved. Now, there's a lot of reasons why this amendment was pushed. One of the things that people do not understand or think about is, they talk about men that were drinking all the time and that were getting violent. They were blaming the alcohol for the actions of specific people. All right, alcohol itself does not cause you to do something. It gives you the courage to do what you hopefully would not normally do in a right frame of mind. However, I do believe that some people use alcohol as an excuse to commit acts that would be completely unacceptable if they were sober. So, but that's a whole different thing. The other thing is World War I. We had just come out of the flu pandemic of 1918 hadn't really even hit yet. A lot of people use alcohol and used it, especially then, for medicinal purposes. So you take away that ability of people, and that causes issues. Um, we had men coming back from World War One during this period, and back in the 1900s, even the early, um, into the 1980s, 90s, up until the past 15, 20 years, they had no idea about post-traumatic stress disorder. They had no idea about traumatic brain injuries and all these other things. And I'm not trying to make an excuse for people for their behavior, but it's not like, back in 1918, 1919, 1920, we had therapists that could actually help. There were no real drugs available. There were things that could have been used and later started being used, but every time you introduce new drugs into people, you bring a whole host of new complications, new side effects. So now you've got new things going on that the doctors are trying to treat with more medicine. So, it was an interesting time period, and of course got through the Roaring '20s. And I know there were a lot of people that were hoping 2020 was going to kind of relive that, and instead we got kind of the aside from we haven't had a total depression at this point, more like 1918. People out of work, pandemic, all this other stuff going on. So guys, the biggest thing with this, and the reason I'm glad it's still, you can still find the 18th Amendment listed. They didn't just cross it out after it was repealed. Is we must pay attention to history. We must look at what the government has done in the past. And without getting too political, the Democrats pass a law prohibiting alcohol to a Democrat later passing the NFA, passing bills that under the Great New Deal it wasn't so great, and we are still feeling the ramifications of that today. Just something to think about headed into the election, getting through the rest of this year. Now look, it doesn't, you know me, it doesn't matter what party it is, they've all pretty much lost their mind at this point, because it's all about power and control instead of being about the people. But this was really a step in that direction. It was honestly, nobody's ever come out and said it, especially that was involved in all this. But it honestly feels like it was an attempt to see how far the American people would let the government push to take away whatever they deemed was a problem. All right, guys. Up until the end of this pandemic, up until the riots end in the streets, up until our police aren't being ambushed consistently, and being presumed guilty and until proven innocent. Unfortunately, even when they are proven innocent, in the court of public opinion, they are already guilty, and that's the end of that. Our service is definitely going to keep going out to those in law enforcement, in EMS, our ambulance crews out there, our firefighters, our park rangers, our military, of course, because these are all the different pieces of the pie that come together to try to keep our streets safe, try to keep our people safe, and try to keep our country safe. Hopefully we'll get to a point where we can actually get back to, looking at certain people and certain jobs that they've done, certain things that they've done. But for right now, and that's where the focus is, because those are the people that we need to be praying for, and our leaders making decisions, so that we don't end up with another 18th Amendment or another NFA. But anyway, guys, as always, faith, not fear. Because you know that fear is a liar. It is a deceiver. It will tear apart your life. It'll turn it upside down. And always be the kind of American worth the sacrifice that these men and women are making every single day. All right, guys, we will talk to you later with the 19th Amendment. All right, take care.